Alrighty, it's been a year since the premiere of Hazbin Hotel. After watching and letting the fresh bias of the fandom get stale, and having recently rewatched the first season after not watching the show for 6 months so I could look at it with fresher eyes then let it digest, I wanted to give my honest thoughts and opinions about Hazbin Hotel Season 1. I'm glad I waited a year to make this video so I can share my honest thoughts and opinions. It just made sense to wait, so, the fan base's bias over something new and shiny grew stale and they would be less rabid over opinions that would make them upset. This fan base really has a media literacy problem. Like, I looked at my old TikToks that I made criticizing each episode the day they came out in the comments. Woo, trying to discredit my thoughts and opinions at the time are still cringe and nonsensical with people's bad faith arguments due to their own media literacy. To this day, I still groan with exhaustion when people want to argue that Alistair views Charlie like a daughter when it's been debunked so many times. Lucifer and Alistair are both prideful, so let's be real, it makes sense for them to butt heads with each other. Also, Lucifer totally started that little tit for tat with his disrespectful assumption that Alistair was the bellhop. If you need help, go watch that episode again, and as soon as Lucifer enters the hotel, do not take your eyes off of Alistair's face. He's always giving Lucifer the stink eye and constantly looking at him every time he's acting cozy with Charlie because he's watching for a reaction for Lucifer. Which, mission accomplished because Alistair really got under Lucifer's skin, which is on brand because he loves antagonizing people. This man drips petty bitch, and a lot of you failed to see that. He shook Lucifer's cane by the apple and still felt the need to wipe his hand clean. This guy is petty. Alrighty, so once again, I figured since it's the 1-year anniversary since the premiere of Hazbin Hotel, I might as well give my honest thoughts and feelings. Looking back at my old episode reviews on TikTok, my opinions are pretty much the same as I was criticizing each episode the day that they were released, except for the fact since I have recently rewatched the show, I've noticed a few more things that I'm going to get into. I want to make it clear, even though I'm going to talk about my issues with the show, I do love it. It's not a flawless masterpiece, but it's good enough to keep me entertained and for me to want to see what happens next. So I figured let's just go ahead and talk about my favorite things before I get into the negatives. Season 1 definitely has my favorite characters like Adam. He's a total jackass, a little bit stupid, but he's still pretty entertaining and has moments where he can be funny. And honestly, his song Hell is Forever is one of my favorite songs. I wish we got more rock tracks with Adam. Also, the rock bit and You Didn't Know was so good. If Lute is going to have some songs in season 2, like solos for herself, they better be rock based. Her VA has the perfect aggressive singing voice. Lucifer is also another one of my favorite characters. He's like just a lovable dork. I know the adorable archetype is really overplayed, but come on, you can't not fall in love with him. Although he is not the first cartoon dad to be obsessed with ducks, his obsession with ducks is still pretty cute. Lucifer was pretty easy for me to fall in love with, even though I do have some gripes involving unanswered questions regarding his character. For example, if he was banished from heaven, how was he able to set up a meeting with heaven's higher-ups for Charlie? You think with him being banished from heaven as a punishment, he wouldn't have any way to have any contact with anyone from his former home. Was he always able to just call them on the phone or some shit? Alistair is next. He has always been my favorite character since the pilot, and he is still my #1 favorite male character in the show. After hearing confirmation that he prefers the company of women, it just makes more sense why he is such a petty little shit starter. Because in season 1, you see him instigating when he is just fucking with people, when he's picking on Husker, and of course, in getting in that little tit for tat with Lucifer. Not to mention, he's just his antagonistic behavior with Vox. I love that back and forth and Stay Gone. Easily one of my favorite songs. And you've been hearing me give some love for the boys. I really just didn't latch on to any of the female characters in the same way because they just didn't stand out enough for me to feel invested in them. Nifty really didn't have that much going for her, and if Cherry wasn't involved with some jokes or moments regarding Serpentia, she would have also been forgettable. Charlie is okay. Emily is basically her heaven counterpart. Sarah, I didn't trust her after the trial. Vaggie felt like she went through 3 character arcs that just went by too damn fast. Mimsy only stood out because she brought trouble to the hotel and had a pre-existing acquaintanceship with Alistair when they were both alive, and for some reason that made people in the fan base jealous, like she had no right to be his friend. Weird. Any other female character that wasn't part of the main hotel crew, we didn't spend enough time with them to actually give a damn about them when you're not the type of person that's so easy to get attached and fixated on one. The closest I can feel that way about any of the female characters in the same manner I did for the male characters I listed, it's Velvet. I love her. Respectless is such a really fun song, and I loved Velvet's I own this fucking room attitude as she was singing. I need more of this bad bitch just telling people what's up. Velvet seriously needs more solo songs. I need more of Velvet. She is definitely my favorite female character. So that's pretty much it when it comes to my favorite characters. If you want a list of my favorite songs, here's my list. Hell is Forever, You Didn't Know, Stay Gone, Respectless, Poison. That's it. The other songs I don't mind listening to for the sake of just being part of the story. The ones I really vibed with are the ones that I listed, and I love listening to them on loop. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the characters before I move on to the negatives and what I have issues with season 1. Serpentious, just the goodest of boys, a lovable loser, he's adorable. Vox is the only other member of the V's I like, but what I find really funny, after the ending of Stayed Gone, he was too embarrassed to show up to the meeting of the Overlords because he knew Alistair was going to be there, and that's why Velvet went in his place. It just shows that he can be a little bit of a little bitch. Also, I see people saying that Vox gives off scorned ex energy, like Vox and Alistair, like they used to be good friends, but Vox developed feelings for Alistair that went completely unrequited, and that's why Vox hates him so much. Please let that be the case for season 2. That would be so fucking funny. But yeah, I think the whole Vox had a crush on Alistair and those feelings going unrequited made him pissy. I would find that funny. Okay, moving on to characters. Carmilla was okay, but the big reveal that she was the one that killed the Exorcist didn't hit because we didn't spend enough time with her to build up caring about her for that reveal to be remotely impactful. She was fabulous in the Out for Love music number. Hello, Miss Ma'am. Lute, I see her as Adam's pick-me, and I promise I'm about to get into that. Just hear me out a little bit longer. Vaggie honestly frustrated me. Like I said, I felt like she went through 3 separate character arcs just very fast. In one episode, she's insecure about her place with Charlie and constantly feeling the need to protect her girlfriend, but she felt inadequate in that department. Then she's face to face with her old boss, having an issue right there, and then she has to prove to Charlie that she will always have Charlie's back despite her hiding her identity as an exorcist angel, making Charlie question otherwise. Also, towards the end of the season, when Vaggie went to Carmilla for help to learn how to defend against the angels, she was surprised to learn that angelic steel hurts angels, when she was the victim of angelic steel being used to hurt her when Lute cut out her eye. Angelic steel wasn't even used to take Vaggie's wings. Lute just had her foot on her back and straight up yoinked those motherfuckers off, and Vaggie is surprised to learn from Carmilla that angels can not only get hurt, but they can be killed when, honey, your comrade left you for dead because she wanted Adam's attention. And for those waiting, this is where I see Lute as Adam's pick-me, for his approval and to be his favorite. When we first meet her and Adam, she's telling Charlie that angels do not make mistakes, and she knows that for a fact. And why the hell did she attack Vaggie? If angels don't make mistakes and Vaggie letting a cannibal child go? Lute wouldn't have seen Vaggie as sinful filth that did not deserve to be in heaven and did what she did. Vaggie, as admitted by Adam, was his top girl on the front lines. Lute probably saw what Vaggie did as an opportunity to get rid of her and take her place as Adam's favorite. Ever since then, she's been his little shadow. Obviously, she was really into her duties as a servant of heaven when it comes to being in the Exorcist military, but you can't deny that she is very attached to Adam. So it's not hard to imagine another girl being close to Adam and getting his attention and approval probably made Lute a little sour. Hearing how angry she was when she got in Lilith's face at the end of the episode, I cannot wait to see Lute absolutely lose her shit in season 2. Losing Adam is going to make her unhinged. Alrighty, let's get my closing thoughts and try to wrap this up. I don't want this video being 25 minutes long. Hazbin Hotel, at least for the first season, because that's the only season if you're watching this around the time of upload, It's not a flawless masterpiece, but it's not completely gup-shy either. It's fun, but I struggle not to hesitate when calling it a good show with all the issues I see in season 1. I would say that season 1 is a sloppy start to a series that has potential to be a really memorable show. I know this is beating a dead horse, but everyone has the same issue. The biggest issue with Hazbin Hotel season 1 is how short the first season is and how breakneck the pace and the tone shift is. Season 1 just feels overly bloated as each individual episode has too many things going on, and I agree that too many characters were introduced that contributed to the problem. Every episode felt like it had just too much going on, and the tone shift, again, it can give you whiplash. With an episode being silly, being serious, tear-jerking moments, and heartwarming moments, then back to silly. And there was no build-up when it came to reveals or certain things getting resolved. There was so much going on that there wasn't room to explore the characters, to develop the characters, exploring their personal growth and their relationship with each other. Lucifer, as I mentioned earlier, is a prime example. Like him and Charlie, their father-daughter relationship getting repaired, like there was no build-up and payoff for that, outside of him coming in the very last moment to save her. And I know someone is going to call this out, yes, pointing out that Vaggie did not feel like much of a character outside of being Charlie's dutiful, protective girlfriend. Now, I'm not saying there weren't moments with these characters, that's not what I'm saying at all. Vaggie specifically, she felt like she had 3 separate character arcs that just went through at a breakneck pace, but they all revolved around her being Charlie's girlfriend and her being loyal to Charlie's dream. Her lyrics in the song Whatever It Takes, it's giving Pearl's devotion to Pink Diamond as Rose Quartz, if you know what I mean. Which isn't a bad thing. I think it's very sweet that Vaggie wants to help Charlie achieve her dream, but she really had nothing else going for her in season 1. It's like when people were pointing out how Millie didn't have a role in Hell of a Boss outside of being Moxie's supportive wife until she finally got some character development episodes where she wasn't interacting with Moxie, period. And it falls into people's criticism when it comes to Vivian Mandrano not being good at writing female characters. But it's not just the female characters, it's also some of the male characters. Once again, Lucifer. All we know about him is that he's been sad ever since Lilith left, and he only comes in contact with Charlie when he needs something from her. When it comes to Charlie and Lucifer's relationship being strained, it was a joke about Charlie's daddy issues. Lucifer pays a visit. They sing a song and they're suddenly on good terms again. It all happens so fast. Slow down. Let these characters breathe. Vivzie Pop herself agreed about how the first season was just so short and how that obviously messed with the pacing of the show, that the story just goes by very fast. And that's technically not all of her fault, considering streamer services have a trend where their original series have less than 10 episodes a season. But a good writer is able to work with the runtime. You can literally look at any movie or TV show and find great examples of a perfectly paced story. And I've seen people trying to defend the pacing issues as in, well, that's how musicals are supposed to work, when again, no, if you look at the runtime at any musical Disney film, any animated Don Bluth project that was also a musical, you can even look at the Johnny Depp Sweeney Todd film and be yeah, that's a well-paced story, because good writers are able to tell a well-paced story when it comes to having a time constraint. Now, I'm not here trying to say that Vivzie Pop is an absolutely terrible writer. Like I said, the first season just felt very overly bloated. There was just too much going on, and I feel like some things could have been completely cut. And I further feel validated believing that after I think it was called a pitch Bible or something like that, containing the original concept Vivzie Pop had for season 1, going beyond 8 episodes, was leaked on the internet. And not just leaked concept for a season 1 that went beyond 8 episodes, there were also leaked concepts for comics that got canceled. Scrapped ideas for the original season 1 idea and those canceled comics were included into the season 1 that we got. It seemed like Vivian just had so many ideas she just could not let go of and had to somehow squeeze them into the first season, which just validates how I feel about season 1 being so rushed, that there's too many things going on per episode and there were too many characters that were being introduced. Other than that, my other issue with season 1 is that it felt like just certain ideas that were introduced into the show were just quickly done away with. For example, the V, specifically Vox, wanting to prevent Alistair from making a deal with Charlie. It's the moment Serpentius got caught spying on the hotel, Vox was oh well, you fucked up, die bitch, and the V's were just fucking off and minding their own business, which is annoying how they were just swept under the rug like that after Serpentius got caught, because there just wasn't any buildup for them becoming the antagonists that I think they were confirmed being the antagonist for season 2. Like, there was no build up for them to earn being the antagonist for the next season. I just wish there was a little more build up to get them ready for their next role. And one thing I want to remind people, within these 8 episodes, there has been just time jump of 6 months with little to no indication of how much time passed at the beginning of each episode outside of someone just casually dropping how long they have until the next extermination. And there's ridiculous time jumps in between major points in the show. It's like, what about the weeks in between? Like, there couldn't have been something? I feel like the ending of the courtroom scene in season 1 should have been the season finale, like part 1 of the extermination arc, and then season 2, it's 8 episodes, could have been part 2 of the extermination arc. I don't know, maybe they can release comics that are canon to the TV show that can fill in the blanks, but honestly, at this point, I don't think that's going to help season 1, and I don't think Fizzy Pop is remotely interested in releasing a Hazbin Hotel comic book series along with the show. And when I brought up that idea before on a public platform, a lot of people pointed out that Fizzy Pop doesn't have the writing talent to be able to have a side media cohesively fit into the canon story of season 1, which, yeah, I definitely see where you guys are coming from. When it comes to future seasons, and I do mean 3 and 4, season 2 is already in production, so I think it's too late for Fizzy Pop to take any of the criticism involving season 1 to up the quality of season 2, but then again, she has a track record of just not accepting valid criticism that she's being received. If the episodes were just paced better, like if they were given more episodes per season, or the seasons were 40 minutes instead of being 20 minutes long, or if Amazon's not going to allow extra episodes a season and the episode runtime is just going to be the same and not going to get an increase, maybe like the idea I had earlier, like have one season be part 1 of an arc and then the next season be part 2 of that arc. But when it comes to Vivian Medrano not taking criticism, I think she just has like Christopher Paolini syndrome, where she's just excited that something she's worked so hard for is finally happened. If you don't understand what I'm referencing, Christopher Paolini used to think that the Aragon movie was absolutely amazing, but he eventually took off those rose-colored glasses and came to the realization that everybody else had that movie was terrible. Now, as I'm closing this video, I'm pretty sure some people are going to wonder about my feelings regarding Angel and Valentino. Episode 4 is honestly my least favorite episode, mostly because of Charlie just being so frustrating. If she had just listened to Angel, respected he has responsibilities outside of being a perfect hotel patron, and not overstep, Angel could have just finished his work for the day and then come to the hotel to do whatever little exercises she want Angel to do. Me and my friends were watching that episode live on Discord, and pretty much all of us were chanting, "Charlie, get out! Charlie, get out!" when the camera panned over to her just messing with something in the studio. We wanted her to get out of there because we had a strong suspicion of what was going to happen. And it happened. Also, the music number just popping right up after an intense scene when Charlie got kicked out was a good example of a breakneck shift in tone. Next, the drag into the closet with Serpentius joke. I do agree that it was rather tone deaf to have an essay joke and then a victim confronting his abuser and showing a scene of how being in close range with your abuser can affect somebody. Literally right after making an essay joke was kind of in poor taste. Now look, I'm not an overly sensitive person, and I actually do a pretty good job when it comes to curating my media intake. I don't mind when a story has elements that touch on things such as essay, and if there are things that make me uncomfortable, I stop the movie, I stop the game, I close the book, and I do not touch it again. Or if I'm able to, I will skip past those scenes if I really care about continuing on with the story. I don't mind when a story has depictions or it touches on things such as essay, but there is a huge difference between depicting and touching upon it in the ways as, let's say, Alice Madness Returns and I Spit on Your Grave are drastically different in regards to when it comes to touching on those subject matters. Alice Madness Returns, you just come to the realization on your own that something happened with Lizzie as you are playing the game very close to the game's ending as you progress towards it. I Spit on Your Grave, however, the original and the 2010 remake, has graphic depictions. From what reviewers say, I absolutely refuse to go near those movies to confirm myself. Same thing for Last House on the Left. Hazbin Hotel may not have been as graphic as I Spit on Your Grave or The Last House on the Left, but that doesn't mean the scenes were palatable for everybody, especially when it comes to to the neck-breaking tone shift, I can see how some people got uncomfortable, that it was funny with a joke one moment, and the very next scene, it's Valentino and Angel Dust, like, getting each other's faces, and how that could have been offensive to people. Now, let's talk about my feelings regarding Valentino as a character. Personally, I guess he's alright. Like I said, we didn't really spend enough time with a lot of these characters to feel any level of attachment to them. If it wasn't for the scenes of his abuse making him stand out in a negative way, he probably wouldn't have just been as forgettable as other characters in the show. His introduction was kind of funny, where Vox had to literally walk him through the thinking process of understanding why going to the hotel and shooting everybody up would be bad for their image. Like, Valentino's a bit of a bimbo. I like his cunty personality, but that's where my praise for the character ends. And to speak on Valentino's voice actor, I completely disagree with how the fanbase just wants to attack Joel Perez every time they get their panties in a twist regarding Valentino's actions within the show or depicting and commissioned prints. Sending death threats to the actual voice actor and calling him defamatory things, like trying to label Joel Perez himself as an abuser and an essayer just because you didn't like things that Valentino was doing in the show, that's not cool. Actors are not their characters. You guys remember how earlier in the video I was describing Lute as a pick-me for Adam's attention? If I was attacking her voice actor on social media, calling her a pick-me girl, and trying to insinuate there's something going on between her and Adam's voice actor Alex Brightman, you guys would look at me as if I was crazy. That's how people who are openly attacking Joel Perez and calling him a rapist and an abuser, like, y'all look crazy. Y'all want to label him those things because of the actions of the character he's hired to be the voice for. And y'all just look pathetic when you try playing the mental health card to shut down conversations with him when he is being constructive, trying to talk to you when you have a problem with him. If it's detrimental to your mental health that he is being constructive, trying to have an open dialogue about your issues you're having with him, how do you think it affects his mental health when he's receiving so many like hateful tweets and like DMs from people calling him these things that can cause damage to his career, with the only basis is that he voices a character that does those things? Actors are not their characters. We've been having this conversation ever since the actress for Abby in The Last of Us Part 2 were receiving death threats, and people were talking to Laura Bailey as if she was Abby, threatening to do horrible things to her because of what quote-unquote Laura Bailey did to Joel, when she didn't do anything to Joel because Joel is a fictional character. If your line separating fiction and reality is at to a point where you feel like you need to attack the actor and say legally defaming things, or say, with the case of Laura Bailey, say you're going to do something awful to their very young children so you can feel some vindication that you are offended by the character's actions, you need to ease up on social media and like fictional media consumption and just go learn a skill, learn to cook, learn to sew, literally do something that does not involve consuming fiction. Because y'all psychos literally have no limits to who you want to attack when it comes to, like, getting offended because the fiction didn't go your way. When the Phantom Menace came out, the actor that did Kid Anakin, he was receiving so much shit. Good Luck Charlie, the actress for The Baby was receiving death threats because a lesbian couple appeared on that show. I swear, the dehumanizing of actors and feeling entitled to attack them is such an issue that's not addressed enough when it comes to how toxic fandom culture can get, especially when the actors being attacked are literal little kids. Oh well, that was my honest thoughts and feelings about Hazbin Hotel Season 1. Like I said, even though this video was mostly just airing my grievances and what I see is like a negative aspect of the first season, I do like Hazbin Hotel. I'm hoping for a physical media release sometime this year, and I am dying for when the series comes to its official end that there will be a full production art book, or maybe we can get production art books like per season, but I think that's probably asking for too much. Like, after seeing those character reference sheets, I really want a production art book. I own the one for BoJack Horseman and Arcane. I love these things so much, and I just want one for Hazbin Hotel. So even though I criticize heavily Hazbin Hotel Season 1, I do enjoy Hazbin Hotel, and I will continue watching as long as the show is able to release new episodes. However, as a fan of something, I think it's still important for you to criticize what you love so something better can come out of that criticism. There are so many fandoms out there that will just blindly defend their favorite intellectual property when it comes to something new and shiny, despite how terrible the quality can be. I mean, for example, look at how many Star Wars fans blindly defended the sequel trilogy from any remote criticism, but after a couple years, they did a complete 180 and they don't know what they were thinking giving these movies so much praise. But at that point, it's too late, and corporate bigwigs can see that they can literally put anything out on a conveyor belt and people will just flood their money with it, regardless of quality, and that's further going to encourage the bigwigs not to put any effort into releasing a good product because, once again, fans will just give them money no matter how terrible it is. So, is Hazbin Hotel good? I hesitate to say that the first season is good with all of its issue. It's definitely a good lazy afternoon show, you know, just something to put on and like turn your brain off to watch when you don't feel like doing anything. Do I think it sets an industry standard or should be seen as such for adult animation? Absolutely not. Look, I enjoy the show, but I cannot put it on that high of a pedestal. Especially when Arcane, when the later season came out the same year, is a much better example of adult animation. You can say that's not fair because one of them is a musical, while the other one is a character and story-driven show. Personally, I'm tired of adult animation always having juvenile dialogue when it comes to profanity, innuendos, and the humor. Hazbin Hotel does fall under the negative stereotypes when someone who has a negative bias against animation, like, thinks when someone says the term adult animation. Animation is already not taken seriously, and I want more adult animation to be common within the industry. So many people just do not understand that through animation, you have the privilege to do things that are just way too expensive to pull off through live action. They fail to fully understand the concept that animation is an art form. It is not a genre, and there are truly no limits of what you can do with animation. Hazbin Hotel does have problems when it comes to its tone shift and its writing, wanting to be silly one moment and then expected to be taken seriously the next moment. I mean, there's a reason why the fandom is dominated by 13 to 16-year-olds when this show is supposed to be aimed at adults. At the time of recording and posting this is around the 1-year anniversary. Season 1 premiered and Season 2 finishing up production. It's too late for Season 2, but I'm really hoping Seasons 3 and 4 would up the quality and be better. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts and feelings when it comes to Hazbin Hotel Season 1. I'm hoping better for the show in the future, but I don't know. If the quality really doesn't improve, I don't see myself sticking around for much longer. Anyway, thoughts and opinions, leave in the comment section down below. Let's get a discussion going, and I'll see you guys in the next video.